All right, so we are live. What's going on, y'all? It is yours truly, Dr. Pierre, bringing you another edition of Real Physician Reacts. If this is your first time catching the live stream, first of all, shout out to either you on YouTube or you sitting in the Facebook group. Appreciate you. Today we got to, well, I think every week we have a serious discussion, but of course, this week, unless you've been sleeping under a rock, you kind of know the news that's really kind of rocked here the country within the past couple of weeks, right? As the title of the video, Roe v. Wade being overturned, is a significant monumental event for lots of different reasons, right? And I'm going to show a clip of what states are doing to kind of, react to the news. And more importantly, what we as healthcare professionals need to do moving on forward, especially for the patients, depending on what state you live in. So if you caught the Real Physician React series or any of my other social media channels, you know that a few months ago, the leaked draft of this decision came out, right? And it was obviously, the reason why it was so big is because we typically never get drafts come out from the Supreme Court, which kind of shows the magnitude of the event, right? That someone said, you know what's about to happen is so significant that I can't, again, we'll never know who did it, but I can't allow, this to surprise people. Because I think if we look back, right, and we think that we've never gotten that draft leak, so we were never at least mentally prepared for this time frame, I can only imagine what the news cycles would be like now. Like it would just be shocking to say the least. So we got the leak that said that, again, they were already in the process of overturning it. We know, unfortunately, the Supreme Court has become more political, more partisan than anything else. It is party line after party line more than anything else. There really isn't any distinction on looking at the letter of the law and standing by the letter of the law. Like those days are gone, right? So if you had a mental thought in your mind that, oh, the Supreme Court, there are these 9 people who, they're impartial to the political parties around them. That story, that thought process, only lives in your dreams. That is not the case anymore. And the subsequent, since Roe versus Wade, they have been just overturning stuff that just are head scratchers, to say the least, in terms of gun control, in terms of the Environmental Protection Agency and what jurisdiction they have on, whether companies can pollute, right? Like it has been just a calamity of events that, again, we're not shocked, we're not surprised, because again, here in the year 2022, we're living in a world where the Supreme Court is not an impartial body of the government. It is as political as the Congress, as the Senate, as the House of Representatives. It is just that political. So when we talk about what Roe versus Wade has done since its beginning, and more importantly, what overturning Roe versus Wade has done, will do, especially with this recent decision, I want to kind of look at this video off of, I believe it's CBS Sports, that kind of discuss, what states were doing because of this news, right? Because I think that's probably the most important thing. Like, how are states reacting to news like this?
To the abortion issue are making their voices heard. Many took to the streets in the wake of the Supreme Court decision to overturn Roe v. Wade.
At least 22 states are banning abortions, and more could announce bans in the coming weeks. Some of those states, including South Dakota, only include exemptions to protect the life of the mother.
South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem spoke with Margaret Brennan on Face the Nation about why her state does not include exceptions for victims of rape or incest.
And we'll continue to make sure that those lives are protected. And I just have never believed that having a tragedy or a tragic situation happen to someone is a reason to have another tragedy occur.
So I want to stop right there, y'all. I want to stop right there. First and foremost, when we talk about what Roe versus Wade was, and you have to use that tense, right? What it was the Supreme Court in the year 73 recognizing that, hey, a woman has a right to privacy. And within that right to privacy, if they want to have an abortion, they should be allowed to have an abortion. And that's from the federal level. What overturning Roe versus Wade has done is that it's now put this power, which is crazy that this is even a power, it's put this power and decision in the hands of states. So it's essentially saying that, hey, we're not going to tell you from a federal level that there's a right to privacy. We are going to leave it up to the states. And then, as you can see, that governor from, I think, South Dakota or something, who essentially says, I do not care if you get raped. I do not care if there is incest. One tragedy shouldn't lead to another. Like, guys, I want y'all to think about that, right? Like when we talk about, and especially because you always hear people talk about these scenarios as if there needs one, and I hate the fact that they give scenarios, right? Because there shouldn't be any scenario that needs to be credible for someone to be allowed to have an abortion, right? When we start like, for example, let's talk about police brutality. Like when the police go down murdering people left after right, and then they happen to murder someone who is what society considers as an upstanding individual with lots of things going for them. Like, we will sit there and focus on the fact that, like, oh my God, I can't believe they murdered this upstanding individual and da 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 da, as if the fact that when they murder people who are not considered society-wise upstanding individuals, as if their murders aren't as bad. So when you hear people start talking about, like, oh, if they're molested, if they're incest, if they're raped, and that's okay for us to have an abortion, you're essentially downplaying the fact that a woman can literally just think, hey, you know what? I do not want to be pregnant right now. Like, why is the thought of, hey, I do not want to be pregnant right now? Why is that choice seem so bad, so negative, right? It is because it puts the onus on the person who says, you know what? I want to make the personal choice. And people who are in power don't want people making personal choices on their body. So you see, again, that, like, I wanted to definitely highlight that clip of the video, because that's just crazy to think that. And what I love, right, because it shows a lot of different reasons, right? It shows because obviously a lot of this Roe versus Wade being overturned is primarily driven by men. It is again, look at the makeup of the Congress. It is the makeup of the governors, the makeup, like, just go down the line, the makeup of white men, right, who are deciding for the country what women should do with their bodies. But it doesn't mean that it's only men. And of course, I'm pretty sure she gets a lot of interviews, because of course it's going to stand out when you see a white woman who is on that front line saying, like, yeah, I'm okay with getting rid of abortion for any reason. I don't care if you get raped. I don't care if there's incest. I don't want you to choose what to do with that baby, because, hey, if that's just one tragedy that you're going to have to live with for the rest of your life. Like, why go through, the quote unquote tragedy of having an abortion, right? Not why go through the complications that occur with just being pregnant. No, we're not going to talk about the prenatal care that your government, your state's not going to provide. We're not going to talk about the postnatal care that your state's not going to provide. We're not going to talk about cheap or maybe even free daycare, cheap or free baby food, child care. We're not going to talk about any of those things there. I only want to control the fact that for 9 months, you got to deal with this baby, right? Like, that's all I want to control. Anything else after that is on you. Like, if you are about to die because this baby is an ectopic pregnancy, and again, we've talked about ectopic pregnancies before, but this is essentially when a baby is growing in a place it should not be growing, for layman's terms. We won't get scientific here. Like, I don't care if that's the reason. Like, I'd rather you die, right? Because that's essentially what she's saying. I'd rather you die than you have that abortion. And that, ladies and gentlemen, should frighten everyone. It should frighten everyone. It does not, though. It does not, but it should frighten everyone. And of course, when you're seeing all of the protests and the demonstrations that happen across the country, a lot of people, again, we're not going to get, a lot of people are going to be dumbfounded. But again, this is kind of the decision that was made when the decision was Hillary Clinton versus Trump. Like, this is the decision that was made. And these are the effects of dealing with said decision when it was Hillary versus Trump, and moving on forward. And here we are. So we have to deal with it. Now reality is here. They have been, and by they, I mean those conservatives, Christian conservatives who are completely, I do not even refer to them as pro-life. They are anti-choice. So the people who are anti-choice has been fighting to overturn Roe versus Wade since 1973. Like, since Roe versus Wade became a thing, since 1973, they've been trying to make it not a thing. And they've been fighting now. And fortunately, because our Supreme Court has essentially become a political theater of right versus left, and not the impartial body of system that we thought it used to be, right? If, growing up, you might have thought it used to be. Because we know that that's the case, here we are. So as a physician, right? As a physician, what do we need to do? Like, I said this on, I think, my TikTok, one of my places, right? I said, hey, all of those people who were like, oh, I'm here to help others, I'm here to take care of my patients, it's all about the care of the patients. We are going to have to stand on that. Like, we are going to have to stand on what we told people to get into medical school. We're going to have to stand what we told people to get into residency, because now patients are going to be looking, especially depending on the state that you live in. Patients are going to be looking for guidance, for answers on what to do. And I saw a couple of people mention it before. This is the overturning Roe versus Wade is not going to stop abortions from happening. Especially because, there's not every single state is going to ban it. And, but like, even in the states that is banned, it's not going to stop abortions from happening, even within states that's illegal. What it is going to increase the number of people who have illegal abortions. That's what it's going to do. And for anyone who may be thinking otherwise, you are just as gullible as the people who thought that the Supreme Court justices would be impartial. I want to show a kind of continued clip just so you can kind of see a little bit of a state breakdown.
Happen to someone is a reason to have another tragedy occur.
13 states had a trigger ban in place in which abortions became illegal automatically if and when it turns out Roe was overturned. 9 other states had laws passed or enacted before this Roe decision, making them all but certain to ban abortion if they have not already. And in at least 4 additional states, the expectation is that they will issue some sort of a ban on abortion in the weeks ahead.
And Ushma Upadhyay is an associate professor in the
I hate that it's blurry like that, so you couldn't really see the states, but that the graphic is extremely telling that the majority of this country, outside of our typical Democrat leaning states, the majority of this country state-wise is going to enact additional hurdles for patients looking to have an abortion. The majority of states is either going to make it illegal or make you have to jump through so many hurdles that you're going to start having illegal abortions. And as a physician who, again, I'm an internal medicine physician, so I typically don't even take care of women's health. But I tell you, I can assure you that I will pledge not only to continue to educate myself on what, especially here in the state of Florida, because I know the state of Florida is trash. It just is. I've said it before. I got no problem saying it. The state of Florida is trash. Our governor is trash, right? So I already know they plan on, and you saw that they were like yellow. They're going to do some things that will make it much more difficult for women to have an abortion, and more importantly, more difficult for women to make the choice of their own. Again, there's no more right to privacy. They're going to make it difficult to do that. And the question becomes, what can we do as healthcare professionals to try to ease what's going to happen? Because I can assure you, things that are just going to happen from a medical standpoint, you're going to have more illegal abortions. You're going to have more women dying because they're carrying pregnancies that they shouldn't be carrying. You're going to have more women leave certain states, right, just to travel to a different state, just to have a legal abortion to come back, right? You're going to have so much turmoil just in regards to women's health, because of course, obviously, when they go to attacking abortion, they're going to be attacking all of the Planned Parenthoods. That, again, that's not all Planned Parenthood does, but they're going to be attacking everything centered around that. You're going to have physicians who perform abortions leave areas, leave states, because that state says, hey, you can't do abortions anymore. And because they are for the will of their patient, they're like, I'm sorry, I cannot practice in a state that's going to allow that occur. So you're going to see this mass exodus of amazing clinicians, physicians, healthcare organizations, nonprofit organizations, Planned Parenthoods of the country. You're going to see all of these things start mass exiting in different places, which unfortunately is what they want, because they want, again, the Christian conservative anti-choice people. They want people to vacate the area to be concentrated in their level of power, right? And mind you, and I saw someone say, well, what about, it was a joke, but not necessarily a joke. They said, oh, what about these politicians who typically have, side women, and they have, unwanted pregnancies? They've got the means to fly them out to a state that's going to do it and fly them right back. That's never going to be an issue. In fact, it never was an issue before. This abortion and the pro-life aspect, or I'm sorry, the anti-choice aspect of them being so against abortion is always going to predominantly affect people of lower socioeconomic status. You know me, I am always here to speak for and champion for people on the lower socioeconomic status, because when I was there, there wasn't too many people speaking for me. So now that I'm here, I got to speak for them. And it saddens me, and it doesn't sadden me because, oh, I have a sister or I have a cousin or I got a mom, because everybody has a mom. It does not sadden me because I have female relatives, right? It saddens me that I know for a 100%, 150, 200,000% fact that this could never occur to the opposite gender. Like, this could never occur to men. Let's think about this scenario for a second. For men, I say, hey, you know what, men? I you know what? By the age of, let's say, 13, you guys like to be sexually active. And because you guys like to be sexually active, we are going to now require all men get vasectomies to make sure you don't get people pregnant. Like, this is what we're going to do to all men across the country. When you're 13, you go to your doctor's office, you get that snip, and then you go be a man and do what you need to do. And when it's time that you want a child, with the permission of your spouse, I didn't say girlfriend or anything, the permission of your spouse, then you can go and get permission, right, to get that vasectomy reversed. And if it happens to be reversed, okay. If it doesn't, well, that again, it just happens, right? Because again, I think when people and I keep harking back, the amount of people who feel that being pregnant is this benign thing that just happens and there's no complication and there's no issues, there's no concerns, nothing happens to the woman, nothing happens to the woman, or the things that happen occur, like the woman's job, the woman's family, nothing happens. Like you get pregnant, it's a 9 months of roses around the floor, and you're just floating around until it's like the amount of people who really truly believe that is absolutely scary. Absolutely scary. So when you hear people, again, the anti-choice people, when you hear the anti-choice people scream, oh my God, no, you can't have this abortion. It's your personal choice. It's your personal choice. But they would never do that to men. They would never even suggest it to men. In fact, I would love, again, in a hypothetical world, we keep suggesting it, and people keep telling me, oh no, you're overstepping your boundary. Dr. Pierre, you're overstepping your boundary when you say that you require men to get vasectomies. Oh, and then the amount of people who suddenly become an expert in male reproductive systems whenever I say all men should get vasectomies to make sure they don't have unwanted babies, right? Just like when they tell the women you should wear condoms, or you should wear birth control to protect unwanted pregnancies if you don't want to have the abortion. The amount of people who all of a sudden are experts in male reproductive systems and tell me, oh, it's not reversible, it's this, it's that, right? Like they'll jump through the window, right, to protect men. Jump through the window. But when it comes to men, like when it comes to women, they're like, hey, you know what? She laid down, right? No one told her to have sex. And if she happens to have sex, she has to deal with the consequences. But no one cares about the fact that she can't lay down without someone causing a problem, right? It's just mind blowing to me. And as an internist, right, I can only imagine what my OB colleagues are going through right now. My family medicine colleagues are going through right now. Like, I can't even imagine it, right? I can't imagine what women across this country are going through right now. Like, essentially watching states literally rushing to the governing table to take their rights away. Literally rushing to do it. And it's not going to stop here, right? Like, especially as a medical standpoint, it's not going to stop here, which is the scary thing, right? Like, I don't know what to tell people, man. I just and again, shout out to his Facebook because I'm not sure. I appreciate you. I don't know what to say because as a healthcare professional, like all we can do is now we have to react, right? Like we just have to react. We just have to be like, all right, we got to do something different. Something's got to change. We got to educate. I see people making memes and videos of, like, hey, I happen to have a nice size house and I happen to live in a good state. If you want to come travel here for a vacation, please come on by. Like it's happening, right? And we have to be just as vocal. We have to be just as vocal when atrocities are happening to people who aren't when atrocities is not, again, I'm a man, right? It's not the abortion ban is not going to affect me directly, but it will affect me for the patients I'm going to have to take care of. It will affect me for the patients I'm going to have to take care of because they may have had a complication from a pregnancy that they never wanted in the first place. That's going to affect me, right? That's going to affect the families. It's going to be a trickle down effect that we are not going to be able to brush to the side. And that's really, like, when it's all said and done, that's really what's sad about the state of our country in regards to women's rights, that you're just, and rights in general, right? You're just seeing them being dialed back over and over again. You saw the people talking about make America great, right? Like I like, those are the people I'm thinking about now, right? Like they don't mention like the time when America was great because they have to mention like that someone was being oppressed, right? And right now on Front Street, women are being oppressed to make decisions on their own body. And I'll hark on this before I get out of here, right? Like, if you told me that, you know what, these same states, right? I kind of highlighted earlier, these same states that are rushing to now ban abortion in any which way or form, or making it the women have to jump through hurdles after hurdles. If you told me those same states were pouring millions and hundreds of millions of dollars in prenatal care, pouring hundreds of $1,000,000 in postnatal care, making sure daycare was free, making sure this you can actually get Similac in the stores and you don't have to like get it behind a locked box at CVS. Like, if you told me those same states were doing that, okay, I might listen to your argument of you being pro-life. But because we all know those same states are taking money away from prenatal care, taking money away from daycare services, taking money away from, you know, being able to even get food and do all of these things that you would actually need to do to take care of a human being that they seem to be so enamored with, when the human being is just a fetus, not even alive, but just an absolute fetus. Like, if those same countries are doing that, then I'd listen to you. But they're not doing it. We know why they're not doing it, because they're not pro-life. They are just anti-choice, right? And again, from here on out, that's, again, when you hear me talk about that other side, they are anti-choice. They are not pro-life. I do not refer to them as pro-life. Nothing that they do or say or show in action screams pro-life. And we just have to be, again, and they just have to be, if they don't want to be honest with themselves, I have no problem being honest for them. Like, it just is what it is, right? So again, I am yours truly, Dr. Pierre, unfortunately having to bring a perspective that again, we knew it was coming, but it still hurts when the reality is here, right? Again, another edition of Real Physician Reacts. I'm gonna see you guys next week.